Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 902. And today we're talking about how to reinvent yourself. There's going to be times in your life where you just feel like life is happening to you, where you're stressed and your environment is showing up all the things you dislike. And maybe you want to go, do you know what? I want to become someone new. I want to be able to change my experience. I want to be able to kind of not almost, and I was thinking about this because I don't want it to come from like becoming someone you're not, because that's not the case. It's about uncovering who you truly want to be if you didn't have any issues happening in your life. That's how I'd like you to think about that today. Not that we're having to fake it. It's about defining and falling into your true potentiality. So I want us to go and consider that as our foundational aspect. The first thing though, beyond that, is to realize that you are not fixed in place. Like if you have anxiety, worries, fears, and doubts, if you have limiting beliefs of I am not good enough, worthy, and deserving, that's not who you are. It's just an aspect of what you're presently expressing as who you are. Like just because you have those beliefs and ideas and feelings, it doesn't mean you're going to be fixed as that person. Otherwise, no one would ever change and no one would ever be able to change. And the very nature of you coming into this world without a limiting belief, without those emotions, means there was a time when you were whole, which therefore means you went through different experiences that then made you feel like that was who you were. You felt like that defined you as a person. But that is not you. It's just your experiences, just what you've been through. So think about it as the 1.0 version of you. Because even the reason I say that is in my program, that's what we kind of call it. We enter the program at where we presently are, the 1.0 version of us. And we want to be able to get my clients to the 2.0. So that's really about growing and evolving from that set of limiting beliefs. But the problem is that we tell ourselves stories that we're unable to change. Like that limiting belief of not feeling good enough or worthy or deserving makes you feel like you cannot reinvent yourself. It feels like you just got to remain here and remain stuck, and that is all you'll ever amount to. And especially if we've gone through significant emotional events, especially if we've been told who are you to be able to be financially abundant, or to have good, great relationships, or to have the hobby or the career of your desires. All of those things can make us feel like, well, I cannot change. I cannot reinvent myself. So we've got to decide another way of being. You've got to make a decision. Are you going to allow your past to define you? Or are you going to choose something else today? You get to choose that. Yes, we're working through things. Yes, we're working through those beliefs and some other really important things that I'll get to soon. But yes, it is a work in progress, and yes, it can be a challenge, but it's absolutely possible. You have the ability to do so, but you've got to make that decision to commit to this reinventing of yourself from the 1.0 to the 2.0, and that allows you to give yourself permission to do so. So let's break this down in a way that hopefully will make absolute sense. A lot of the time, when I talk about what I talk about, we go into beliefs, and they're very, very important. But there is another component that is, to me, equally important, what defines your identity. So on the one side, we've got our belief systems, whether they're good or bad, as in I'm good enough to I'm not good enough. But then on the other side of the equation, we have what we'll call values. Your values are the things that motivate you. that are important to you. So if you had a high value for family, the chances are you'll be more motivated to go and have that family dynamic. Yes, the limiting beliefs can still have an effect on that, or maybe if that limiting or if that value had some negative energy to it, so you could have a higher value for money, but if it's kind of contaminated by scarcity, you may be wanting it, but always self-sabotaging it. But you've got to get clear of what's important to you. Ask yourself, what's important to you about life, about developing this you? Not, like I said, not faking, but actually diving into the truth of the true nature of who you are, of what's really important to you. What qualities are important to you about life? What values would you like to really live by? And I think we may have said something similar. I don't know if I've released it yet or not, but I said about like companies, their mission statements. Write yourself out a mission statement of what values are you going to live up to? And I say write it out because if you keep it in here, it's going to be really, really tricky. You've got to let it all out. I do like the idea of journaling this. There's something that I used to do is I used to go out by myself to a bar or a restaurant with a notepad, some earphones to listen to something, and I'll just journal. I would empty out. I would think about what is important to me about my business or what's important to me about my life. Because if I don't have those values, then I'm not going to find motivation. Because values are the things which drive us forward. So consider what's important to you about life. Now, as an example, it could be, well, I want to decide, declare, and dedicate to living a life of adventure. It could be literally anything. But those are the things which are going to really motivate you. If you're not clear on them, you'll just be operating at this 1.0 version. So think about what is important to you, and if you struggle with that, because you might have some ideas, but if you struggle with it or you want extra ideas, consider who you admire. Who in life, whether you know them in person, whether you just read an autobiography about them and you've observed them from a distance, if you've have someone in your life, maybe it could be a friend or a work colleague, when you think about someone who you really admire, consider what's important to them. What is it that you admire about that person? Do they have a certain mindset? Do they have a certain set of qualities that you think, that's someone I really admire? Because the chances are, if you start to adopt those mindsets, those qualities, you're going to start to shift your identity. You're going to start to live by those values rather than just observing them from a distance, rather just allowing them to be there and not you. You can start to assume them. You can start to think about that person has this quality, this person likes helping people, or this person's always there for someone, this person's funny, this person has an adventurous life I really admire. Well, as you start to list out your own and then start to look through the eyes of that person and consider what's important to them, you can start to utilize that as well. So consider that level of what's something, if you were just like totally free of limiting beliefs, how would you live your life? What standards would you live up to? What's something that you're going to have like a code that you live by? Like a mission statement, like I said, or what qualities would you like to bring into life? And then, as I said, a side step, if you struggle or if you want to add to it, is consider people that you admire. Whether you know them or you're observing them from a distance, you can still imagine maybe what's important to them. What's their values? Now, the other aspect is something that reminds me of when I was in Thailand. So I went out there to kind of get in shape and things like that. So it's like a 2-month kind of boot camp. I was working out 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the early afternoon. and 6 days per week, and it was really, really good. But I wanted to set myself up as challenges. So one of the challenges, which I thought would make me super proud, because I went there to get kind of fit, but something that would cement that for me was running around the whole island of Koh Samui, because someone else was doing it on that boot camp, because they were kind of training for like one of those triathlon type of things, or the Ironman type of races, and she was there to kind of prepare for that. And I thought, wow, if I could achieve that, that would mean something. It would mean something to me, but it would also mean that I fundamentally changed as a person through the experience, because I couldn't run half a mile when I got there. So I thought, well, if I did this achievement, it would mean something. I can look back on it. I mean, I'm talking about it now because it's meaningful to me. What would be something that would be very meaningful for you? And this is being broadcasted live on YouTube. So just before we went live, I was just saying that YouTube notified me that we've had like 90,000 watch hours or something like that, and 80,000 views in itself. And that's been something that I've been thinking about for the last couple of years, like reigniting my YouTube channel. And I've set myself up at challenges. I was going live 3 times per week. I upload a video or go live pretty much every single day on YouTube. At least 6 days per week, I've got them. And I've even preloaded them all the way out to next year, because I want to be developing something. I want to achieve something and help more people. And think about that. That's a value that's important to me. I've been in pain, and I want to show, hopefully my intention is to help people get out of their pain, specifically things like the imposter syndrome, not being good enough, because I felt that way once and I overcame it, and I want to hopefully show other people how to do that, because that means something to me. And I know I'm talking about myself here, but I'm just showing you examples that if I can start to set myself these accomplishments, it will show me I'm changing and growing as a person. I'm reinventing myself to do more, be more, to have more, to be in purpose, to be in a mission, a vision. As we said, a mission statement, right? You have that mission and you have vision for what you want out of life, the things you would like to achieve. So think about that as well. Let's have a quick recap, actually. So number one, we've got to decide to go all in. We've got to just do it. No one else is going to change you. Yes, you can get help, but not fundamentally, you're the decision maker here. You've got to decide. You are not your story. You are not your belief systems. They're just things that you've assumed. To recognize that there's a 1.0 version of you and you want to be able to get to the 2.0 version of you. Rather, believing those stories. And then we want to consider not just our beliefs, but the values, right? What's important to you about living and being someone else, or not really being someone else. I've said that's not what I mean, but becoming the person who you truly want to be. How do you want to live by? What's that mission statement going to be like? What are the values and that code that you'd like to live by that would mean that you're having a wonderful life, a life that will compel you to do more and to live up to that standard? And then we also said about getting ourselves in a place of considering of people that we admire, because those are going to be qualities and traits and missions and other forms of values that you can start to live by. It just gives you that extra level bit of help, and I find it really, really helps as well. And that's why I've always enjoyed reading entrepreneurial biographies. And then I said to think about what would make you proud. What's an achievement that if you were to achieve, maybe put a goal on, timeline there, But if you achieve that, would really mean something to you, really meant that you had to reinvent yourself in order to achieve that. It's like a tangible goal that you can go through. Now, the other part, which we haven't spoken about, we're going to go through two more little things here, is sometimes you have to change your environment. And that can be the people in your environment, in other words, the people in your life that sometimes you've got to let go. Sometimes people are in your life for a season and you've got to recognize that. Sometimes people in your life for a certain meaning that you get to learn and grow by. And sometimes people in your life to ultimately be there for a lifetime. All of those things. But recognizing the difference between the three, like especially the season aspect, some people are there just for that, and that's okay. People will come in and out of your life and you will do the exact same thing. So recognize who's in your environment, what is in your environment. Sometimes you need to move environments. Like I've went to Thailand to reinvent myself. I've moved from England over to America. There's lots of things I've had to do to adapt and to be able to not necessarily start fresh, which is sometimes important, but to put yourself in a new environment that is allowing you to grow, that almost gives you a clean slate, metaphorically, and also just like planting yourself in a different, nurturing environment will do that. It doesn't mean you have to move and go to Thailand. It doesn't mean you have to move from one country to another. Sometimes it's about just changing parts of your home, like reorganizing, putting things in different places. Sometimes it is about moving, maybe in the same city. Sometimes about recognizing the job that you're in is not something that is supporting you, and maybe it's time to look for other opportunities. There's lots of things you can do to make that movement. And some people are not always going to be supportive of you. We talked about that on and maybe one of the last episodes, definitely the last live stream I did, but I had to pre-record some because I'm going away soon and I want to make sure that I can provide value even though I'm not actually here. So there's going to be times where you are wanting to go, I've got to not be around people. I need to make that decision. I need to know that some people may not buy into my vision and my goals and my dreams. So therefore, I have got to pay attention to who I'm listening to. Sometimes if you put yourself in around a community which lifts you up to your goals and dreams, that's what my program is about. It's a fundamental core thing. I'm all into about lifting each other up and supporting one another. It is a fundamental thing. Even in my life, I will only have people in my life who are going to support me, and I only want people in my life I want to support. It's just something we could say a code that I live by, like one of those values, because I just don't want toxic environments. I just don't want to be around people who are trying to pull me down or try to trip me up and all those things. I want to move myself, but that's something that you get to choose once again. You are the decider there. And now, circling back to the last thing, and that was one of the core aspects of what it takes to reinvent yourself. We said one was values, which we've gone more into depth today, but then the other one was, can you remember it? Belief systems. Belief systems define your reality. So you've got to do the work in letting go of the limiting beliefs that are stopping you reinvent yourself, right? Because we've discovered all these values that are important, the mission statement and changing environments and all those types of things. But if you are still operating from the same belief of that 1.0 version of you, you're not going to get there. You want to be able to go all out in recognizing those limiting beliefs. I don't know if for you it's going to be things around the imposter syndrome, not being good enough, worthy, deserving, that the world's not a safe place, or relationships are all bad, or career, I can never get ahead. There's going to be some fundamental unconscious belief systems that are getting in your way. So how do we go ahead and do that? Well, you know I've got my app, which has tons of hypnosis sessions, so you can go ahead and check that out. that's there to hopefully get you to where you want to be. But there's other things. Don't just have to rely on my stuff. You can work with, say, a counselor or a therapist of some sort. Yes, it's going to be more conscious because it is more talk therapy, but it works. Look, I'm not throwing stones at any therapy at all, really, because it's all geared to hopefully help. You've got to find what resonates with you. In fact, I know people reach out to me who are therapists who recommend my work to their clients, which is a crazy honor, but there are psychotherapists and therapists who do that. But think about what that is. It's a level of conscious transformation. But then you got things like maybe you want to coach. How's that different? Well, maybe it is still spoken word, but there is a level of, being coached through it. So you think there is a little bit more maybe accountability. That's going to be really important. Even in my program, we have group coaching, we have one-to-one coaching. I believe that's fundamentally important once again. And then the last thing is we want to make sure that we have the unconscious transformation in my belief system. I mean, I would be a bit of a hypocrite if I didn't think unconscious transformation is really important, doing hypnosis for the last 22 plus years. So I really think that the limiting beliefs, because they are run at an unconscious level, you have to meet the issue where it lives, which is where? The unconscious. So finding someone who can support you through that, and that's not probably going to be me, and that's okay, right? Yes, I work with a certain kind of person over an 8-week period to let it go, but I only want to work with people I know I can solve the issue. So not everyone is going to be resonant to me and to them. It's just the way it is. You got to find someone who resonates. If you resonate, then that's great, and you have the issues that I absolutely solve, like the imposter syndrome, like the I'm not good enough and worthies and deservings and all those kind of things, then yeah, that could be a great fit. But there are other people out there who do that too. Now, of course, if you ever did want to attempt to or want to work with me, you can go to josephclough.info/talk. Depending when this is released, we're actually shutting down soon, so there may be a wait list when you see it. But ultimately, you can go to josephclough.info/talk, and what you do is you fill out an application to make sure we understand, and then you attend a one-to-one Zoom with us. And on that Zoom call, they'll get clear with where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in the way, and if we can solve it, they'll let you know, and therefore we may invite you into the program. Yes, there's an investment. Yes, you got to be fully committed and decisive. But like I said, you can do that, but you can also do anything that you want. You can work by yourself by using the principles that I spoke about today. So do that, and I know without a doubt that you will reinvent yourself so quickly, so powerfully, because when you do, you'll be living a life of love, mission, vision, and ambition, things which motivate you from those values, those qualities, those accomplishments. You can do so much more than you could ever think, because you're always more than you will ever think of yourself. So I hope you got value from this, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode. Many thanks, and goodbye.